The Velkara drifted through the darkness of space, its crystalline hull catching the light of distant stars. Captain Velna stood at the center of the command deck, his body glowing with soft blue patterns that indicated calm focus. The Zenthari had mapped thousands of star systems over 50,000 years of space travel. They had met hundreds of intelligent species. They knew what to expect from first contact situations. The sensor officer, Kratesh, pulsed yellow with excitement. "Captain, we are detecting organized radio signals from the third planet. The species appears to have achieved basic space travel. They have primitive stations orbiting their world." Velnus examined the data streams flowing through his consciousness, another young species reaching for the stars. The Zenthari Empire had guided many such civilizations into the galactic community. It was always the same pattern: initial fear, then gratitude, then eager acceptance of guidance from older, wiser species. "Prepare standard first contact protocols," Velnus ordered. "Open a communication channel." The response came faster than expected. Within moments, a vessel appeared on their sensors, moving toward them at impressive speed for such a primitive craft. It was called the Endeavor, according to the transmission data. The species called themselves humans, and they came from a planet they named Earth. "They are hailing us, Captain," Kratesh reported. "They seem very eager to communicate." "Open visual channel," Velnas said. The screen flickered to life, and Velnas felt his light patterns stutter in confusion. A human face filled the display. It had 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, and something that immediately triggered every danger instinct the Zenthari possessed. The human was showing its teeth. Across the Velkara, every Zenthari went rigid. In 47,000 documented species, baring teeth was a threat display. It meant aggression. It meant danger, yet this human was making soft, friendly sounds while doing it. "Greetings," the human said, and Velnus realized with growing unease that the creature was still showing its teeth. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Endeavor. This is an incredible moment for our species. We've dreamed of meeting other intelligent life for thousands of years." The human's teeth remained visible. Its mouth curved upward at the corners. Velnus forced his patterns to remain steady and professional. "I am Captain Velnus of the Zenthari Empire," he replied, his voice translating through the communication systems. "We welcome peaceful contact with your species." "That's fantastic," Jake Morrison said, and somehow showed even more teeth. "Let me introduce my crew. This is Amy Chen, our pilot. Chris Holland, our engineer. Dr. Lisa Park, our xenobiologist, and Dr. Kevin Turner, our medical officer." Each human appeared on screen as their name was called, and each one displayed their teeth in the same unsettling manner. They waved their appendages in greeting gestures. They made enthusiastic sounds. The Zenthari crew watched in silent horror. "We have so many questions," the human called Amy Chen said, her teeth very visible. "What's your homeworld like? How many species are in the galactic community? Do you have families? What do you eat? How do you communicate?" The barrage of questions came without pause. Humans, it seemed, had no concept of proper diplomatic restraint. They asked personal questions as if they were discussing the weather. They showed excitement without control. "Perhaps we should arrange a proper cultural exchange," Velnus suggested, trying to regain some sense of order. "We have standard protocols for introducing new species to galactic civilization." "That would be amazing," Jake Morrison said, teeth still showing. "We'd love to learn everything. Would you like to visit our ship? Or we could come to yours. We could share a meal, exchange information about our cultures." A meal. The humans wanted to eat together. Velnas felt a flicker of concern but agreed. It was standard procedure to share food during first contact. It built trust and understanding. "We will arrange a meeting on neutral ground," Velnas said. "A small station between our vessels. Tomorrow by your time measurement." "Perfect," Jake Morrison said. "We'll bring some Earth food to share." "This is going to be great." The transmission ended and the Zenthari command deck burst into agitated light patterns. "They showed their teeth the entire time," Kratesh said, pulsing red with alarm. "Every single one of them. It was a sustained threat display. Yet their words were peaceful," Velnas observed, "and their body language showed no signs of preparing for attack. Run a deep scan on their vessel and their planet. I want to understand what we are dealing with." The data that came back over the next several hours made the situation worse, not better. Earth was a Class 12 death world. The gravity was crushing. The atmosphere was corrosive, filled with oxygen that would poison most species. The temperature swings were extreme. The planet was covered in water that could drown land creatures and land that could strand water creatures. Storms raged across its surface with terrifying regularity. The native life forms included massive predators both on land and in the seas. And humans had not only survived on this nightmare world, they had thrived. Dr. Lincor, the medical specialist, presented her findings with flickering orange patterns of distress. Captain, the human biology is deeply disturbing. They are pursuit predators. They can run for days without stopping. Their bones are dense and strong, designed to withstand impact. Their bodies heal from injuries that would kill most species. They have forward-facing eyes for tracking prey. Their hands have the grip strength to strangle most creatures we have documented. What do they eat? Velnas asked, though he dreaded the answer. Organic matter, Captain. They consume other living things. Plants and animals both. They are omnivorous hunters. The bridge fell silent. Most civilized species had evolved past consuming the dead centuries ago. They synthesized nutrients or absorbed energy from light and minerals. The idea of eating something that had once been alive was barbaric. There is more, Captain, Lincor continued. They have a substance called adrenaline that floods their system during stress. It makes them stronger, faster, and less able to feel pain. They can continue fighting even with fatal injuries. Their bodies are designed for extended conflict. Kretesh pulled up images of Earth's history from the human data broadcasts. They fought wars against each other, Captain. Thousands of wars over their history. They have developed weapons specifically designed to kill their own kind, yet they also show signs of cooperation and social bonding. They create art and music. They write stories. They care for their young for many years. Velnas studied the contradictory data. Humans were apex predators from a death world who somehow developed complex emotions and social structures. They showed their teeth in what they called a smile, claiming it was a sign of happiness and friendship. They wanted to share meals and exchange cultures. Tomorrow we will meet them in person, Velnas decided. We will observe their behavior carefully. Perhaps there is an explanation for these contradictions. But as the Xanthari crew prepared for the cultural exchange, none of them could shake the feeling that they were about to have dinner with monsters wearing friendly faces. The worst part was that the monsters did not seem to know they were terrifying. They thought their smiles were welcoming. They believed their enthusiasm was charming. The humans were coming tomorrow and they were bringing food to share. Velnas could only hope that the Xanthari would survive the encounter with their sanity intact. Something about these creatures defied every pattern of civilization the galaxy had ever known. And that was perhaps the most frightening thing of all. The meeting station floated in the space between the two vessels, a small neutral structure built for exactly these kinds of exchanges. Captain Velnas arrived with Kretesh and Lincor, each of them pulsing with carefully controlled light patterns that indicated diplomatic calm. Inside, they felt nothing but dread. The humans arrived exactly on time, which should have been reassuring. Jake Morrison led the way, followed by Amy Chen and Chris Holland. All three showed their teeth immediately. "Thank you for meeting with us," Jake said, carrying a large container. "We brought food from Earth. We were not sure about your dietary needs, so we brought a variety." "We appreciate the gesture," Velnas replied. "However, Xanthari process minerals and light energy. We do not consume organic matter." "Oh, that's fascinating," Amy said, her teeth very visible in what they called a smile. "How does that work?" "Do you need to be in sunlight regularly?" The questions came so easily, so naturally. Humans asked about personal biology the way others might ask about the weather. They had no sense of proper boundaries. "We can discuss Xanthari biology later," Velnas said carefully. "Please share your meal. We are interested in learning about human culture." What happened next would be recorded in Xanthari archives as one of the most disturbing moments in first contact history. The humans opened their containers and pulled out objects they called plates and utensils. They arranged portions of various substances on the plates. Then Jake Morrison began to explain what they were eating. "This is beef," he said, pointing to a piece of reddish-brown matter. "It comes from an animal called a cow. We raise them on farms specifically for food. This is chicken from a bird. These are vegetables, different types of plants. And this is cheese, which is made from cow milk that has been aged with bacterial cultures." Lincor's light patterns flickered with horror. "You are eating deceased organisms. You are consuming flesh." Well, yes, Chris Holland said, looking confused by the question. Humans are omnivores. We eat both plants and animals. Is that unusual? Most civilized species evolved past such practices thousands of years ago, Kratesh said, his patterns turning dark orange with distress. The consumption of the dead is considered barbaric. The humans looked at each other. Amy Chen's smile faded slightly. We did not mean to offend. This is normal for us. Our bodies require proteins and nutrients that we get from food. We have to eat to survive. And you kill other creatures to do this? Velnus asked. Yes, Jake admitted. Though we have been working on synthetic alternatives. Some humans choose not to eat meat for ethical reasons. But for most of human history, we have been hunters and gatherers. It is part of our evolution. The Zenthari watched in silence as the humans began to eat. They used metal implements to cut the flesh into smaller pieces. They chewed with their mouths closed, which was apparently a sign of good manners in human culture. They swallowed the processed organic matter and continued talking as if this was completely normal. This cheese is really good, Amy said. It's aged cheddar from Wisconsin. That is a region on Earth known for dairy products. You mentioned bacterial cultures, Lincor said, her voice tight with controlled panic. You are eating the products of bacterial activity? Sure, Chris said. Cheese, yogurt, some pickled foods. Bacteria are part of many human foods. They help with digestion too. We have billions of bacteria living in our digestive systems. The implications of this statement hung in the air. Humans were walking colonies of bacterial life. They consumed the dead flesh of other creatures. They did this while smiling and making pleasant conversation. Then the incident happened. Chris Holland reached for a container, and his hand slipped on the smooth metal surface of the table. The edge caught his finger and a thin line of red fluid appeared. The humans called it blood. Ow, Chris said, pulling his hand back. He looked at his finger, watched the blood well up from the cut, and then did something that made every Zenthari recoil in horror. He laughed. Clumsy me, Chris said, still showing his teeth in a smile. That's what I get for not paying attention. Jake Morrison pulled a small kit from his pocket. Let me see, he said, examining the wound. It's not deep. Just needs cleaning and a bandage. Dr. Kevin Turner, who had been observing via video link from the Endeavor, spoke up. Clean it with the antiseptic wipes. Make sure no debris is in the cut. Apply pressure if it keeps bleeding. The Zenthari watched as Jake pulled out a small cloth soaked in chemicals. He wiped the wound, and Chris winced but did not cry out. The chemical would have dissolved Zenthari crystal. Yet the human barely reacted. Jake then wrapped a small adhesive strip around the finger. There you go, Jake said. Good as new. Thanks, Chris replied. And then he picked up his utensil with his uninjured hand and continued eating. The casualness of it broke something in Velnus's understanding of the universe. The human had been injured. Red fluid had leaked from his body. Chemicals that should have caused agony had been applied directly to the wound. And the human laughed about it and continued eating dead flesh as if nothing had happened. Does that not cause you pain? Lincor asked, her light patterns flickering with confusion and fear. A little, Chris admitted, but it is just a small cut. It will heal in a few days. Human bodies are pretty good at repairing themselves. You laugh when you are injured? Kratesh asked. Sometimes, Amy said. If the injury is minor, laughing helps deal with it. It is better than crying about every little thing. Every little thing. A wound that would hospitalize most species was a little thing to humans. Tell us about human medicine, Velnus said, trying to keep his voice steady. What happens when a human is seriously injured? Dr. Kevin Turner's face appeared on the screen, showing the same teeth-bearing smile. Human medicine has advanced significantly in the last few centuries. We can treat most diseases, repair damaged organs, reattach severed limbs in some cases. Our bodies have aggressive immune systems that fight off infections. We heal from broken bones, cuts, burns, and many types of trauma. You can survive severed limbs? Lincor asked, her voice barely above a whisper. For a time, yes, Kevin said. With proper medical care, a human can survive injuries that would be immediately fatal to less resilient species. We have high pain tolerance and strong will to survive. Evolution on Earth required us to be tough. The pieces were falling into place for Velnus. Humans were pursuit predators from a death world. They hunted other creatures by chasing them until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They consumed the flesh of the dead. They healed from terrible injuries. They laughed at pain. Their bodies were designed for survival in the most hostile conditions imaginable, and they wanted to be friends. Why do you show your teeth so much? Velnus finally asked the question that had been bothering him since first contact. In most species, that is a threat display. The humans looked genuinely surprised. Jake Morrison's expression shifted to understanding. You mean smiling? That is not a threat for humans. It is a sign of happiness, of friendliness. We smile when we are pleased to meet someone, when we are enjoying ourselves, when we want to show we mean no harm. So the threat display means the opposite of a threat? Kratesh asked. It is not a threat display at all for us, Amy explained. I suppose our teeth are visible when we smile, but that is just how our facial muscles work. When humans want to threaten someone, we usually do not smile. We frown, we narrow our eyes, we tense our bodies. The contradiction was staggering. Humans showed their weapons when they were friendly and hid them when hostile. They ate the dead while discussing art and philosophy. They laughed at injuries and cried at emotional pain. They were walking contradictions wrapped in flesh and confidence. I think we may have frightened you, Jake said quietly, his smile fading. That was not our intention. We should have researched Zenthari culture more thoroughly before this meeting. We sometimes forget that what is normal for us is strange for others. You do not find your own nature disturbing? Velnus asked. No, Jake said simply. We are what we are. Humans have always been survivors, hunters, fighters when necessary, but we are also teachers, artists, parents, friends. We contain multitudes, as one of our poets said. We can be fierce and gentle. It is not a contradiction to us. It is just human. The meeting ended shortly after. The Zenthari excused themselves, claiming the need to process the cultural information. The humans seemed disappointed but understanding. They packed up their remaining food, waved goodbye with those disturbing smiles, and returned to their ship. Back on the Velkara, Velnus immediately filed a report. The classification was clear. Humans were Class 7 threat, death world predator species with paradoxical social behavior. They possessed the capability to be the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever encountered, but they chose to pursue friendship instead. That choice, somehow, made them even more terrifying. The distress signal cut through all other communications, sharp and desperate. Velnus felt his light patterns shift to alert yellow as the message played across the Velkara's systems. This is Mining Colony 7 on Moon Designation Tal Resh. We are under attack by Kreshtar raiders. Repeat, under attack. We have 47 personnel, multiple species, station structural integrity failing. Require immediate assistance. The transmission cut off with the sound of explosions in the background. Kratesh pulled up the tactical data. Captain, the Kreshtar have 3 assault ships in orbit around the moon. The colony is deep in the facility, which is now exposed to the moon's toxic atmosphere. The Kreshtar are known for their brutality. They will kill everyone. Velnus ran the calculations through his consciousness. The nearest Zenthari military fleet was 6 standard cycles away. Mining Colony 7 would be a tomb long before help arrived. The Kreshtar would strip the facility of valuables and leave no survivors. It was what they always did. Calculate rescue probability, Velnus ordered, though he already knew the answer. 3% chance of successful rescue with current resources, Kratesh reported. The Kreshtar outnumber us, outgun us, and their species thrives in toxic environments that would kill most of our crew within minutes. Logical action is to call for military support and prepare memorial protocols. The cold logic was sound. Velnus began to compose the call for military assistance. The miners would die, but their deaths would be honored. It was the way of the galaxy. Sometimes survival was mathematically impossible. Then another voice cut through the channel. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Endeavor. We received the distress call. We are moving to intercept. Velkara, will you join us? Velnus felt his patterns flicker with confusion. Captain Morrison, you received our tactical analysis. The probability of success is 3%. The logical action is to wait for military support. There was a pause, and then Jake's voice came back, hard and determined. We don't abandon people who need help. 3% is not 0%. We're going in. You can join us or stay here, but those miners are not dying today if we can help it. You will die, Velnus said flatly. Your ship is not equipped for combat. The Kreshtar will destroy you. Maybe, Jake admitted. But we're going to try anyway. Endeavor out. Kratesh's light patterns flashed red with alarm. Captain, they are plotting an approach course through the debris field. That is suicide. No ship can navigate that safely. Velnus watched on sensors as the human ship accelerated toward the moon, heading directly into a field of spinning metal fragments that would shred their hull. The Endeavour moved with a grace that should not be possible, weaving between obstacles that appeared on sensors only seconds before impact. The human pilot Amy Chen was flying on instinct and reflex, making decisions faster than any computer could calculate. "They are insane," Lincor whispered. "They know they will probably die and they go anyway." But Velnus found himself fascinated. The humans had calculated the odds, understood the danger, and chosen to act anyway. They operated on something beyond logic. They operated on determination and what they called hope. "Set course to follow the Endeavour," Velnus ordered. "If they can navigate that field, so can we. We will provide support." The Zenthari crew stared at their captain. This was not logical. This was not safe. This violated every protocol they had. "That is an order," Velnus said, and his patterns pulsed with command authority. The Velkara followed the humans into the debris field. They watched as the Endeavour took hits that should have been crippling, as pieces of hull tore away as systems failed. But the ship kept flying. The engineer, Chris Holland, was performing repairs even as new damage occurred, keeping critical systems running through what appeared to be sheer stubborn refusal to let the ship die. They reached the moon. The Kreshtar ships immediately opened fire. The Endeavour's shields flickered and failed. Hull breaches appeared on sensors. Any sane species would retreat. The humans accelerated toward the surface. "They are going to land," Kritesh said, his voice filled with disbelief. "They are going to board the station." "Provide covering fire," Velnus ordered. "Target the Kreshtar weapon systems." The Velkara's defensive weapons were not designed for combat, but they were enough to draw attention away from the Endeavour. The human ship plunged through the toxic atmosphere and crashed more than landed, near the mining colony entrance. The sensors showed the human crew emerging from their damaged ship, wearing modified pressure suits. The suits were hastily altered, held together with what appeared to be basic welding and chemical sealants. They should not work in the toxic environment, but the humans moved through the poison atmosphere as if it was merely unpleasant rather than fatal. Nas patched into the visual feeds from the colony's security systems. What he saw would haunt his memory for the rest of his existence. The Kreshtar were violent fighters, experienced raiders who had terrorized the sector for generations. They were larger than humans, naturally armored, and thrived in toxic environments. They should have been unstoppable, but they had never encountered humans before. Jake Morrison led his team through the failing station with brutal efficiency. The humans moved like water, flowing around obstacles, adapting to changing situations instantly. When Kreshtar appeared, the humans engaged with weapons that fired solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The primitive technology was devastatingly effective. What disturbed Velnus most was the precision. The humans were not killing indiscriminately. They targeted weapons, limbs, methods of disabling rather than destroying. Even in combat, even facing enemies who would show no mercy, the humans maintained control. They were efficient predators who chose restraint. Then the feed showed the trapped miners huddled in a sealed compartment that was rapidly losing pressure. The structural collapse had trapped a support beam across the only exit. The miners, various species including 3 Zenthari, were calling for help. Their air was running out. The human team reached them, and everything changed. The same creatures who had just efficiently neutralized armed raiders immediately shifted their behavior. Their voices, audible through the comm systems, went soft and reassuring. Amy Chen approached the trapped Zenthari child carefully, speaking in gentle tones. "Hey there," Amy said. "My name is Amy. We are here to get you out. Can you tell me your name?" The child's patterns flickered with fear and hope. "Linsha. My parent is hurt. Please help." "We will help everyone," Amy promised. "But I need you to be brave for a little while longer. Can you do that for me?" The child's patterns stabilized. The human's voice, the confidence in her tone, provided comfort in the darkness. Chris Holland was working on the support beam, using cutting tools to slice through the metal. His earlier injury had not slowed him down. Blood seeped through the bandage on his hand, but he ignored it, focused entirely on freeing the trapped miners. Jake Morrison found a Zenthari adult with a shattered crystal structure, an injury that was surely fatal. The human knelt beside the dying miner and placed his hand gently on the unbroken sections. Help is here, Jake said quietly. Your child is safe. We will get everyone out. The Zenthari miners' patterns flickered with gratitude before fading to darkness. The humans stayed there for a moment, showing respect for the dead before moving on to help the living. The beam collapsed just as Chris finished cutting through it. The structure above gave way and Amy Chen was still inside with Linsha. The human saw the danger, grabbed the child and threw Linsha toward safety. The falling debris caught Amy, crushing her against the floor. Amy, Jake shouted, running toward the collapse. Got the kid out. Amy's voice came through the comm, strained with pain. Worth it. It took precious minutes to free her. When they pulled Amy from the debris, her suit was breached, her ribs clearly broken, and blood was leaking from multiple injuries. Dr. Kevin Turner administered emergency treatment, injecting her with substances that would help her body fight the toxic atmosphere now entering her bloodstream. Can you walk? Jake asked. Amy looked at him, blood on her teeth from internal injuries, and smiled. I can run if we need to. They extracted all 47 miners. Not a single casualty beyond the miner who had died before the humans arrived. The humans carried the injured, shielded the weak with their own bodies, and fought off 2 more Kreshtar attacks during the evacuation. They loaded everyone into the Velkara, as the Endeavor was too damaged to fly. Chris Holland had a shattered arm. Amy Chen had broken ribs and toxic exposure. Kevin Turner had chemical burns from the atmosphere. Jake Morrison was limping from a leg injury he had not mentioned to anyone. All of them were hurt, some seriously, and as they secured the last miner aboard the Velkara, Chris turned to Amy and grinned through the blood and pain. You owe me drinks. I only broke 1 arm. You broke 3 ribs, Amy laughed, then winced. Laughing hurts. Stop being funny. Velna stared at the humans. These impossible creatures who ran toward danger instead of away from it, who risked death for strangers, who laughed at pain that should leave them unconscious, who could shift from lethal fighter to gentle protector in a heartbeat. Why? Velnus asked Jake Morrison. Why risk everything for a 3% chance? Jake looked at the rescued miners, at Linshaw being comforted by the Zenthari crew, at the grateful faces of 47 beings who should have died. Because 3% is not 0, Jake said simply. And because leaving people to die when you can help is not something humans do. We don't abandon each other. We don't give up just because the odds are bad. We try, we fight, we hope. That is what makes us human. Velnus updated his report that night. The classification remained Class 7 threat, but he added a new note. Humans are apex predators who turn their hunting instincts toward protecting the weak. They are terrifying not because they can kill, but because they choose not to. They face impossible odds with determination and laugh at injuries that should kill them. They are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and they use that danger to save lives rather than take them. The galaxy, Velnus realized, was about to change. Humans had arrived, and they brought with them a concept that defied logic. Heroism. The invitation arrived 3 weeks after the rescue at Mining Colony 7. The Galactic Council, representing 60 species from across known space, requested the honor of the human crew's presence at a formal reception on the Zenthari homeworld. The message was polite, diplomatic, and absolutely mandatory. The council needed to understand these newcomers who had broken every established pattern of civilized behavior. Captain Velnus was assigned as their official guide and escort. He had filed 7 reports on human behavior, each one more disturbing than the last. Now he would watch as the galaxy's leadership tried to categorize creatures that defied categorization. The humans arrived at the Zenthari homeworld in a new ship provided by Earth's government. They had named it the Discovery, and they arrived with gifts, another bizarre human custom. They brought recordings of music, samples of art, data files containing their history and literature, and sealed containers of food they promised would keep without spoiling. We wanted to share a piece of Earth with you, Jake Morrison explained as he presented the gifts to the council representatives. His teeth were visible in what Velnus now recognized as a genuine smile of friendship. We know we are strange to you. We hope by sharing our culture, we can help you understand us better. The reception hall was massive, designed to accommodate the diverse physical forms of the council species. Crystalline Zenthari mingled with gaseous Velkir, aquatic Telmari and mobile water tanks, and dozens of other forms. All of them watched the humans with a mixture of fascination and fear. The humans moved through the crowd with easy confidence, introducing themselves to everyone they met. Amy Chen, fully healed from her injuries through what human doctors called physical therapy and rest, shook hands with every being who had manipulators to shake. Chris Holland discussed engineering with species whose technology was thousands of years more advanced, asking questions with genuine curiosity. Dr. Lisa Park carried a datapad and took notes on every species she encountered, her eyes bright with scientific interest. Ambassador Kreshetala of the Unified Coalition approached Velnas, her energy field pulsing with concern. "Captain, we have reviewed your reports. These creatures are predators from a death world who consume organic matter and heal from fatal injuries. Yet they smile constantly and speak of friendship. The contradiction is deeply unsettling. How do we know they are not simply very patient hunters?" Before Velnas could answer, Dr. Lisa Park appeared beside them, her smile wide and enthusiastic. Kreshtala's energy field flickered with alarm at the sudden approach. "I apologize for interrupting," Lisa said, "but I heard you mention death worlds. I would love to discuss comparative evolutionary biology with you. Earth's classification as a Class 12 death world has shaped human development in fascinating ways. Do you have time to talk?" Kreshtala hesitated, her energy field showing confusion. The human was asking permission to discuss topics that should be threatening. She was showing her teeth and speaking with excitement about her species' deadly nature. "I have time," Kreshtala said carefully. "Tell me about human evolution." Lisa's face lit up with joy. She pulled up images on her datapad, showing Earth's ancient history. Humans evolved in Africa, a continent on Earth, about 200,000 years ago. Our early ancestors were not the strongest or fastest creatures, but they were persistent. We developed endurance hunting, chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We learned to use tools to communicate complex ideas, to work together in groups. You were prey animals who became predators, Kreshtala observed. In a way, yes, Lisa agreed. But we were also still prey. Large predators hunted humans for thousands of years. We learned to be cautious, to plan, to build defenses. Earth taught us to be tough and smart. Survival required both strength and intelligence. "And the consumption of organic matter?" Kreshtala asked. Lisa nodded, unbothered by the question. "Humans are omnivores. We can eat plants and animals. This flexibility helped us survive in different environments. When plant food was scarce, we hunted. When hunting was poor, we gathered. We adapted. But as our civilization advanced, we also developed ethics about our food sources. Many humans now choose not to eat meat. We debate the morality of it. We are trying to create synthetic alternatives. We are aware of the cost of our survival." Velnas listened to the conversation, struck by Lisa's openness. She did not hide human nature. She explained it honestly, acknowledging both the brutal and beautiful aspects of her species. The formal presentations began an hour later. The council had requested that humans explain their culture and history to the assembled species. Jake Morrison stood before hundreds of alien beings and began to tell the story of humanity. He did not soften it. He did not hide the dark parts. He showed them wars that killed millions. He showed them genocides, slavery, environmental destruction. He showed them humanity's capacity for cruelty and violence. The assembled species watched in growing horror. Then Jake showed them the other side. He showed them humans who fought against injustice. He showed them art created in the darkest times. He showed them people who chose kindness when cruelty would have been easier. He showed them the slow, painful progress toward peace and understanding. "We are not perfect," Jake said, his voice echoing through the hall. "We have done terrible things to each other and to our world. But we learned from our mistakes. We are still learning. Every generation of humans tries to be better than the last. We fail sometimes. We stumble. We hurt each other. But we keep trying." An elder of the Silthar species, a being who had lived for 3,000 years, spoke up. "You show us your failures with the same openness as your successes. Why do you not hide your shameful history?" "Because denying our past does not change it," Jake replied. "We must acknowledge what we have done, good and bad, to understand who we are and who we want to become. Our darkness makes our light more meaningful. Our struggles make our victories more valuable. We are complicated, contradictory creatures, but that is the nature of humanity." Dr. Kevin Turner took over the presentation, discussing human emotional capacity. He explained concepts that seemed impossible to most species. Humans could feel multiple contradictory emotions simultaneously. They could love and hate the same person. They could feel joy and sadness together. They could mourn while celebrating, fear while hoping. Our emotions make us vulnerable, Kevin explained. But they also make us strong. Love drives humans to protect each other. Compassion makes us help strangers. Hope keeps us going when logic says we should give up. These emotions are not weaknesses. They are the foundation of human civilization. Ambassador Krishtala asked the question that everyone was thinking. But how do you not destroy yourselves? Such volatile emotions combined with your physical capabilities should lead to chaos. How does your species maintain stability? Jake stepped forward to answer. We choose to. Every day, every human makes choices. We can choose cruelty or kindness. We can choose to hurt or to help. We can choose fear or hope. It is not easy. It is not automatic. But we decided collectively over thousands of years that kindness is worth the effort. We built laws and ethics. We created social structures that encourage cooperation. We teach our children to be compassionate. We punish those who choose cruelty. We are not naturally good, but we work very hard to be good anyway. The silence that followed was profound. The council members looked at each other, their various forms of communication flickering and pulsing with the same realization. Humans were persistence predators who had turned their hunting instincts toward morality. They pursued kindness with the same relentless determination they had once pursued prey. They were terrifying not because they were violent, but because they could be violent and chose not to be. Their capacity for destruction made their choice of creation more powerful. Belness watched a young Zenthari approach Amy Chen with careful curiosity. Is it true that humans form bonds with other species? The young one asked. That you adopt young from other creatures? Amy smiled gently. Yes, humans have always done this. We domesticated wolves thousands of years ago and they became dogs, our companions. We keep animals as pets, caring for them not because they are useful, but because we enjoy their company. Some humans adopt children from other families, other cultures, sometimes even other species. Now that we have met you, we bond easily and deeply. It is part of our nature. But why? The young Zenthari asked. What benefit does it provide? Love does not require benefit, Amy said simply. We care for others because caring makes life meaningful. We protect those we love because losing them would hurt us. Humans need connection. We need to matter to someone and have someone matter to us. It is how we are built. The reception continued late into the night. Humans mingled with species from across the galaxy, answering questions with patience and honesty. They shared their music, which ranged from gentle melodies to aggressive rhythms. They explained their art, which depicted both beauty and pain. They told stories of heroes and villains, of love and loss, of struggles and triumphs. As the event ended, Velna stood with Jake Morrison, watching the last guest depart. You terrify them, Velna said quietly. You terrify me. Jake nodded, his smile fading to something more serious. I know, we do not mean to. But I understand why we are frightening. We are aggressive persistence hunters who decided to pursue peace instead of war. That makes us unpredictable. You cannot trust our nature because our nature is to choose against our instincts. How can the galaxy trust such a species? Velnus asked. By watching what we do, not what we could do, Jake replied. Judge us by our choices, not our capabilities. We could be monsters. We have the tools and instincts for it, but we choose every day to be something better. That choice is what defines humanity. Not our teeth, not our endurance, not our capacity for violence. Our choice to use all of that power for protection instead of destruction. Velnus's light pattern shifted to a color that indicated deep thought. You are cosmic horrors that dream of friendship. Jake considered this, then smiled. Yes, that is exactly what we are. And we hope, very much, that you will give us the chance to be your friends. We know we are strange and frightening, but we promise to try our best to be worthy of your trust. The Galactic Council met in emergency session after the reception. They debated for 3 full cycles. The decision, when it came, was unanimous. Humanity would be granted full membership in the galactic community, with one condition. They had to continue being exactly what they were. The galaxy needed humans, needed their stubborn hope and their relentless kindness. The universe was dark and cold and dangerous. Humanity's insistence on filling it with warmth and friendship was terrifying and inspiring in equal measure. 6 months after first contact, Captain Velna stood on the surface of Earth for the first time, and the Death World lived up to its reputation. The gravity pulled at his crystalline structure with crushing force. The air was thick with oxygen that would slowly corrode him if he stayed too long. The temperature fluctuated wildly. Water fell from the sky in what humans called rain. The entire planet seemed designed to kill visitors. Yet humans walked through this nightmare landscape as if it was paradise. Children played in parks, laughing and running. Adults sat on benches reading or talking. Birds sang in trees. The city of San Francisco spread before him, built on hills that would be considered dangerous terrain on most civilized worlds. His guide was a young human named Nicole Hayes, a teacher and artist who had volunteered to show him around. She had the same unsettling smile as all humans, but Velnas had learned to see past the teeth to the genuine warmth behind it. "Welcome to Earth," Nicole said cheerfully. "I know it must be overwhelming. We will take it slow. What would you like to see first?" "I want to understand," Velnas said. "Your people terrify the galaxy. You are predators who choose peace, survivors who choose compassion. I want to know why. I want to see what makes humans choose to be kind instead of cruel." Nicole's smile softened. "That is a deep question. I think the best way to answer it is to show you how we live. Come on." She took him first to a hospital where Dr. Kevin Turner worked during his time off from space exploration. The building was filled with sick and injured humans, all being cared for by medical staff who moved with efficient compassion. "This is public health care," Nicole explained. "We treat anyone who comes here regardless of their ability to pay. It has not always been this way. For a long time, only wealthy humans could afford good medical care, but we decided that was wrong. We built systems to care for everyone. It is imperfect and we are still improving it, but the principle is what matters. No one should suffer because they lack resources." Velnas watched as Kevin treated a child with a broken arm. The doctor's hands were gentle, his voice soothing. He explained the treatment to the worried parents, reassuring them that their child would heal completely. There was no calculation of profit or benefit, just pure care for a suffering child. "Why do you do this in your free time?" Velnas asked Kevin. "You have already served humanity through space exploration." Kevin looked surprised by the question. "Because people need help. I have the skills to provide it." That is reason enough. The simplicity of the answer struck Velnas deeply. Humans helped because they could, not because they expected reward. Next, Nicole took him to a school where she taught. Children of various ages sat in classrooms learning about mathematics, history, science, and art. But what caught Velnas's attention was a special class on alien species. The children were studying Xanthari culture, learning about how his people communicated through light patterns, how they built their crystalline cities, how they had explored the galaxy for millennia. "Why do you teach human children about other species?" Velnas asked. "Because understanding leads to compassion," Nicole replied. "If children learn about different beings, different cultures, different ways of thinking, they grow up accepting diversity. They see difference as interesting rather than threatening. Education is how we fight fear and hatred." A small human child approached Velnas, looking up at his crystalline form with wide, curious eyes. "Are you a real alien?" the child asked. "I am Xanthari," Velnas replied carefully. "I come from a world very different from Earth." "That is so cool," the child said, using a term Velnas had learned meant approval. "Can you teach us how to make light patterns like in the videos?" The innocence of the request, the complete lack of fear, touched something in Velnas. This child saw him not as a threat or a curiosity, but as someone interesting to learn from. Nicole had taught her students to be open to the unknown. That afternoon, Nicole took him to meet her neighbor, an elderly man named Danny Martinez, who sat on his porch in a wheeled chair. His body showed signs of age and injury, but his eyes were bright with intelligence and warmth. "Danny fought in the last major war Earth had," Nicole explained. "He saw terrible things, did things he regrets. But he spent his life after the war working for peace." Danny gestured for them to sit. His hand shook slightly with age, but his voice was strong. "I killed people in that war," Danny said bluntly. "Young men like me fighting for their countries just like I was fighting for mine. The enemy was not evil. They were just people on the other side of a political conflict. When the war ended, I realized that all that death accomplished nothing. So I dedicated my life to making sure future generations would not have to fight like we did." "You lived with the memory of killing?" Velnas asked. "How did you not lose yourself to despair?" "Some days were harder than others," Danny admitted. "But I chose to use my pain to help others. I taught young people about the cost of war. I worked with former enemies to build bridges between our nations. I turned my guilt into action. That is what humans do. We carry our mistakes and try to make something better from them. Velnus was beginning to understand. Humans did not ignore their dark nature. They acknowledged it, wrestled with it, and chose to overcome it. Their kindness was not instinctive. It was deliberate, hard-won, and all the more powerful because of it. That evening, Nicole invited Velnus to her home for dinner. He discovered that she lived with her partner Kate and their daughter Sophie, a child they had adopted from a family that could not care for her. The casual domesticity of predators preparing food, setting a table, and caring for young ones while discussing art and philosophy made the contradictions of humanity more real. "Why did you adopt a child?" Velnus asked. "You could have produced your own offspring," Kate smiled, serving food to Sophie. "Because Sophie needed a family and we had love to give. Biology is not what makes someone your child. Care and commitment make family. Many humans adopt children who are not genetically related to them. It is about the connection, not the DNA." Sophie, who was 5 years old, climbed into Nicole's lap and asked to hear a story. Nicole told a tale about a brave knight who protected a kingdom not through violence but through wisdom and kindness. The child listened with wide eyes, absorbing lessons about compassion wrapped in adventure. Later, after Sophie was asleep, Nicole and Velnus sat on the balcony overlooking the city. The lights of San Francisco spread below them, millions of humans living their lives in relative peace. "You asked me why humans choose kindness," Nicole said quietly. "The truth is, it is not always a choice we make successfully. We still hurt each other. We still have wars, though fewer than before. We still struggle with greed and hatred and fear. But we keep trying. We teach our children to be better. We build systems that encourage cooperation. We create art that celebrates compassion. We tell stories about heroes who protect rather than conquer. You are aware of your capacity for darkness," Velnus observed. "Every moment," Nicole said. "Every human knows we could be cruel. We could take what we want by force. We could kill those who disagree with us. We have the tools and instincts for it, but we also know the cost. We have seen what happens when we give in to those instincts, so we choose every day to be something better. Sometimes we fail, but we never stop trying. Aren't you terrified of your own nature?" Velnus asked. "Of what you are capable of?" Nicole was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the city lights. "Yes," she finally said. "Every thinking human carries that fear. We know what we are. We know our history. We know that under the right circumstances or wrong circumstances, we could become monsters. That knowledge is what keeps us trying to be good. We cannot trust our instincts, so we must trust our choices. We build ethics and laws and social structures to remind us to choose correctly. We are terrified of our darkness, so we pursue light with everything we have." Velnus felt his pattern shift to a color that indicated deep understanding. "You are not naturally kind. You choose kindness deliberately, and that choice requires constant effort." "Exactly," Nicole agreed. "And that is what makes it meaningful. Anyone can be kind when it is easy. Humans are kind even when it is hard, even when our instincts scream at us to be cruel. Even when violence would be simpler. We are kind on purpose, and we pursue that purpose with the same determination we pursue everything else." The final day of Velnus's visit, Nicole took him to the ocean. They stood on a cliff overlooking the Pacific, watching waves crash against rocks. The vast emptiness of water stretched to the horizon, beautiful and terrifying. "Humans find this beautiful," Nicole said. "The ocean, the storms, the wild places of our world. We know they can kill us. We respect their power, but we also love them. We see beauty in danger. We find peace in chaos. We are comfortable with contradictions because we live with contradictions every day. The galaxy will never fully understand your species," Velnus said. "You break every pattern we have documented." Nicole smiled, and this time Velnus saw only friendliness in the expression. "Good. Understanding everything would make life boring. We like being complicated. It keeps things interesting." Velnus returned to the Zenthari homeworld with a new perspective. He filed his final report, and it was unlike any first contact document in galactic history. "Humans are classified as paradox class," he wrote. "They are apex predators who chose cooperative behavior. They are survivors who choose compassion. They are warriors who choose peace. They possess the capacity for great cruelty and great kindness. and they have deliberately built their civilization around choosing kindness despite their nature. They are terrifying in their capabilities but use that terror to protect rather than conquer. They face an uncaring universe with determination, hope, and an insistence that existence should be met with warmth and friendship rather than fear. They are cosmic horrors that dream of connection. He concluded with a warning and a recommendation. Humanity will reshape the galaxy not through force, though they possess it, but through their relentless insistence that all beings deserve kindness and respect. They will push every species they encounter to be better, to try harder, to hope against logic. They do not trust their instincts, so they trust their choices. They are monsters who chose to wear kindness not as camouflage but as identity. The Galactic Council should accept them fully and learn from their example. The galaxy needs humans, needs their stubborn refusal to accept that darkness must win, needs their insistence on filling the void with light. The Council accepted the recommendation. Ambassador Kate Williams took her seat among the representatives of 60 species, smiled her human smile, and proposed a galaxy-wide education exchange program. The motion passed unanimously. 3 months later, Velness found himself sharing a meal with Jake Morrison on the Discovery, discussing philosophy and the nature of civilization. The human captain had brought him synthetic mineral compounds designed to be consumed by Zenthari, showing thoughtfulness and care. "You no longer fear us," Jake observed. "I am still terrified of your species," Velness admitted. "But I have learned that your terror is pointed outward, at threats, at injustice, at suffering. You are dangerous, but you are dangerous in defense of the weak. That makes you the best kind of monster." Jake laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "I will take that as a compliment." "It is meant as one," Velness said. He pulsed with a light pattern that meant deep respect. "You looked at a cold, uncaring universe and decided to fill it with warmth anyway. You pursue that impossible goal with the same determination you pursue everything else. You are persistence predators hunting happiness and dragging everyone you meet along for the journey. The galaxy will be better for your presence even if we never quite stop being a little afraid of your smiles." Jake raised his glass in a human gesture of celebration. "To friendship, then, and to the understanding that the scariest monsters can also be the best friends." Velness discovered in that moment that he was no longer disturbed by the sight of human teeth showing in a smile. He had learned to see past the predator to the person. He had learned that humans were terrifying and wonderful in equal measure. They were cosmic horrors who chose kindness, and perhaps that was exactly what the universe needed. The darkness of space seemed a little less cold with humans in it, filling the void with laughter and hope and stubborn, relentless compassion. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was perfectly fine with everyone.